Sandy.
Hi, it's Dave.
Hi, it's Kirk.
Welcome to the ADK Rock and Metal channel, and today we're doing discussion topics, and today's discussion is, it's my one this time, are local gigs too cheap? Tickets for the local gigs. You're a guy that goes to a lot more than most of us, and so actually you both go to more than I do. I go there because I usually get them free because I'm filming. It's kind of good for mine. So this is something that when we started looking at concert tickets, obviously doing ADK Presents, we were looking at what's the price should we set, yada yada yada. So you start going, right, so £10, £12, 15 quid for a ticket, and you go, oh, that's way too expensive for a concert for local bands. But then I went back in the early 2000s when I used to go to like the Bull and Gate in Kentish Town, next to the Kentish Town Forum, and you'd have 4 bands on. I'd be like, well, we used to pay £5 or £6 for a concert ticket then, and there wasn't an issue there because cost of living, you're like, £5-6, fine. That would be equivalent of 4 pints, effectively. It's like £1.50 a pint.
Those were the days.
But you can imagine, as a promoter, then your cost of what you're making at £6 is much, much better because the cost of living and everything's down. But we just did a load of shows and we were doing £5 entry. But everything else has gone massively up. So why hasn't concert tickets gone up? And big concerts, yes, they have. They've gone to like £300-400 quid for some tickets, but why are local gigs? I'm seeing local bands putting on gigs for free or £3 entry or like what is it about local gigs that we've gone, we're just going to have to make it as cheap as chips to try and get people to come in, and we don't see it as actually resulting in people attending by putting on free shows.
No, we did ours on it. Should we give some context then? So we did the 2 shows on Thursday in one of the most vibrant cities in England, Cambridge, and the price of a pint was more than the ticket to get in. Yeah. So did we underprice it? I think is a question. And
would it have been better to go £10 a ticket and just go for less people? But
you probably got about the same attendance. I mean,
yeah,
I think £5 was cheap. Even £7.50. Was it £7.50 on the door? £5 in advance.
£7.50 on the door.
I mean, I'm used to paying £9 or £10
Yeah,
at Club 85, for example. And in Cambridge itself, in that particular venue, what seems to happen, which if you're a fan of the band, I mean, what I found is, the bands that I want to support are supporting cover bands or tribute acts, for bands that I don't actually like. So I'm not going to pay £15, £18 to see the local band I'm a fan of because they're supporting Ion Maiden or
one of the other guys,
Audio Slave, Rage Against the Machine, any of those. So I think they're too expensive, but obviously that's what the sort of headline act is sort of drawing as a cost for the promoter. But it does kind of exclude people who want to support the other bands, like myself, from going. So I think we are pricing it too cheap. I mean, there are a few free all-dayers that are on my calendar, for later this year, and I don't understand how that works.
I'd happily pay 15 quid for one of those because you get what, 9-10 bands.
Exactly. So that it's strange. I mean,
the price hasn't gone up in line with inflation like everything else is because people are not attending live shows, not to the extent. Now, is this because bands are playing too many shows in the same areas, so there's no urgency to? We've had this conversation before. So now, for instance, Hereward actually played on Thursday for us, did a great set, opened the night out, but are playing the same venue again in 4 weeks' time. And they were like, oh, if you miss this gig, come see us in 4 weeks' time at the same venue. And you're like, now I knew that, but that gig had also already been announced at the same time as our gig had been announced. So people were now going, I can either see you there or I can come 4 weeks' time. Yeah. So there's no chance of me going, that's my one chance to see them at this point. We've got the same situation with Lowdown in September when they're headlining for us because they're playing shows as well at the same venue within a 1 month period. So they're back on the bill again. So you then have this issue of picking and choosing. But it didn't actually help us in the slightest thing when we did Telescribe there because it was our only gig in ages and we didn't have a great attendance for that. So and Nomadic Rain, first gig in like a year with a new lineup, doesn't necessarily guarantee that people are going to come out if you don't play loads of shows. So I mean, because this is the other question that comes out because we haven't got the figures to tell you about what the costs were. We did make losses on the shows, I can tell you that. The extent of the loss, I don't know. But my other question, we can throw this into the same discussion topic, is local bands getting paid for playing the gig?
Do they expect to be paid? I think some of them don't now because they know what the grassroots scene is like. They're happy just to take a gig, a lot of them.
So the way I look at it is, if I was a business and you had a colleague that worked for you, because at a gig, as a promoter, the bands are working for you to their employees effectively. Now they want to be paid. So if I had an employee job where I was working in retail and I was doing performance improvement plans for them, and they have key targets they have to deliver, and the key target is people need to attend the show. They need to have a following and people are going to attend. If you do deliver that, you get paid. That's as simple as I can put it. Now the problem you've got is there will be bands that go out and go, well, it's not the band's job to promote the show. And I actually agree with that. It's not down to them. It helps if they do let people know, and all the bands that have played for us on the ADK Presents have put out posts about it, so it's great. The problem you've got is how do bands get out from being just another band on the Spotify playlists?
Yeah, and trapped in the local scene
where
as well.
people who are, because this is my other thing, is I remember being in bands in the 90s, but I never saw myself, there were bands that were gigging that you saw in the local scene that you didn't see them as just being local bands. You saw them as the guys that appeared in Kerrang, even though if they were, because you used to get the Kerrang magazine and go to the What's On section, and you'd have all the gigs. And if you were in that, that's where you'd
made it in the underground.
You'd made it
in the underground.
So you saw them as an established band. Even if they were only playing in like the Bull and Gate or wherever it might be, or the Camden Underworld, they were huge, and they were still local bands, but you saw them as huge. Now everyone and their auntie fucking plays in a band, and so everyone's got access to cheap equipment, cheap home recording, so anyone and everyone can be in a band, which means no one's actually just a fan of music anymore.
So is it a bit like, that saying everyone has a novel in them, and really that is a disparaging saying. It's saying most people would not be able to write a novel, they think they can. Are we kind of applying that to music as well? Everyone's got a Spotify album in them, I guess, is the new...
Well, I think the issue is there's not anyone who's just fans of music anymore who go out just to enjoy music. But there's a few.
I still write written reviews.
And we still see people that go to gigs at some of the Club 85s. We saw some of the same people turn up at the ADK events on both nights, and they're fans of music. But what we do see
most of them are in bands, and
most of the guys that we know are in bands. The only time we actually see them coming to gigs is if they're good friends with someone in the band. And it was great to see the Extreme Death Art guys came out to the Telescribe show. It was great to see the whole band came out in attendance. It was brilliant for them guys. But it's also been very apparent when we've done other shows about this. There's the distinct lack of local scene member bands that do come out and support. Now they do go to other gigs. Like we've seen a lot of people go out to bands like Dead Flesh Praetorian shows. And if that's the more extreme end, but if you've only got a limited amount of money to go to these gigs,
is there a question?
Which is why we can't. It's difficult. You can't pay bands because there's no way of paying them.
No, I don't say you can generate.
The only way we would have made money on this show is if we charged £25 a ticket and we'd have covered our costs and been able to pay the band a bit more. But no one would have fucking turned up. So it's.
Can I ask a question then? Two things. One's an uncomfortable question. Could it just be the music that we promote? It's not mainstream, is it? It has a limited appeal. Heavy music. I mean, Extreme Death Art at the last gig, that is obviously extreme, given the name. If someone had walked in off the street, listened to that, they'd have been terrified, wouldn't they? So there's probably the demand.
There's no commercial appeal.
Yeah, exactly. And music
public.
Doesn't need to be have a commercial. We don't listen to music for that. The other thing, what is the point of inelasticity, as an economist would say? Elastic demand means there's a certain price where that rubber band snaps and people can't use it. I would say I wouldn't pay £15 to go to a grassroots show, even if you had 4 bands on in an evening. That would just be too much. But why? £12, I'd pay that. There's just a psychological point where I'm like, why am I paying this?
If you're doing an all-dayer or something like that, how many people go there because they like all the bands that are on an all-dayer?
Occasionally I have, but you might pick and choose.
And it's a social event, isn't it? You go in there because you're friends.
The Red Fest at Stevenage has got a great lineup of bands. There's a lot of bands, and the thing is, it's all bands we know, so it's almost like a big friendly day out.
It is.
And it's a free fucking entry one again. You're like, okay, fair enough. And Bulldog, you've got the Bull Fest.
Bullstock, exactly.
So that's coming up as well. So there is a lot of these kind of free events, but I'm not quite sure how this actually makes money for bands, how this makes it's a good exposure piece. But then here's another question. And so Bullstock coming up, and if you've got any of the bands playing Bullstock who are playing another show within a 10-mile radius within a couple of weeks before or after it, I'm not going to go to it.
Yeah, because I'll be thinking I'll go to the Bullstock one.
Yeah.
Free entry, I can see all the bands then. So there's no point me going to any of their other gigs.
And it's more of a monumental social event, that, isn't it? The whole town is just given over to live music, isn't it? Yep. Every venue is playing live music, different genres, and it's once a year. It's the big cultural event, really, isn't it?
Because all we're doing is we're just we are minimising the value of music. We've somehow managed to
We don't want to pay for it.
In the last 20 years, we've gone from the point of taking music and saying this has got value, this has got something that's substantial value that you invest in, to go in, this is something we deserve for free.
Yeah, Napster to where we are now. Yeah.
We don't want to pay for our music. We don't want to have to pay to go to gigs and shows. We don't want to pay over the prices for t-shirts and stuff. We want it to be given away for free. And but we still want high quality music videos from our bands. We still want great shows, and bands are fucked basically. Yeah. And then you can't go out there and just pick up a simple guitar with a Zoom multi-effects pedal and plug it into a Marshall JCM 100 or something and go, because everyone's like, no, you got to have the latest equipment. You got to have laptops doing backing tracks and stuff in your local gig with light shows and smoke screen, but we're not going to pay you as an artist, and we don't want to spend more than we want to go free entry, or we only want to spend £5 on the gig to come and watch 5 bands play. And we're not going to actually watch all 5 bands. We're going to watch you for 5 minutes, then we're going to sit outside and chat to our mates for the rest of the evening.
The other thing is as well, like, do you know, when you look at it with the subscription model,
how depressing is that?
It is, isn't it? But it's like with I'll quickly go on to it. Netflix, right? Eventually, unless you've got consolidation, who is going to have a subscription for Paramount, for Netflix, for Disney, for all these different ones, because each one's got exclusive licensing? Eventually, they're going to have to merge.
Yeah.
And who's going to be the beneficiaries of that? The Hollywood entertainment studios. They know, they'll be looking at it thinking, we need to become multimedia now. We're not just funding films, buying up studios, and we're not just producers. We need to be buying the streaming platform. So in music, this idea, as a consumer, it's great when you think about it at first. Wow, $12.99, I've got access to every song in the world. There's not going to be any competition. All right, I use Deezer. What do they have? 0.8% of the market? Tidal, is that the other one?
I think that was one of them, yeah.
I can't remember.
That's more R&B based,
is it?
I think
but that's the point. So it's just going the wrong way. Spotify, no one's going to be able to catch up with them.
Wasn't there a thing, I can't remember how long ago, it was about 6 months to a year ago, there was this whole thing about a streaming platform that was purely going to be focusing
on rock and metal.
Yeah. That was coming out, and that's disappeared off the platform. And
it's been delayed.
It was all going to be basically, it was done by rock and metal artists, and it was going to be the whole idea of the streaming platform is you could have other artists on there, pop,
I'll get it on here, yeah,
pop and other people, but it was basically designed for a better percentage.
That's
so
why
if you were there on the streaming platform as a rock and metal artist and you were putting it through on this streaming platform, you would earn more as an artist, and the algorithm would be more focused on that. So if you went in there, it would be more targeted for your own thing. There was definitely something about it.
That could be the future, though, where
I don't know where
to support the genres you like, you do have. You don't need a subscription to Spotify, for example. Let's have a look. Because I saw a video by Tank the Tech on this. Oh, it's actually called Rock, ROKK.
Yeah.
Romeo Oscar Kilo Kilo. So January 2024. Yeah, they're still launched. So it looks like it's going ahead. So they're on a crowdfunding launch at the moment. So they apparently they were planning to launch it in January 24.
$10.99 a month, okay, or family plan $16.99, okay.
Yeah, and it's coming early 2024. It looks like it hasn't though yet.
So we need to find out a little bit more about that, because there was a lot of trying to get funding behind it, etc., to try and make it work. But obviously, any streaming platform, you've got to then try and get all the music on there. And
pay for licensing,
etc. So I don't know. Let us know what you think. So there's 2 questions out there. Let us know in the comments down below. Local bands being paid, should they? We'd love to say yes, but how do we do that? And are gigs too cheap? Let us know in the comments down below. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you on the video sometime very soon. Take care.